Houston was born from bold entrepreneurialism and big infrastructure. The Allen brothers put the city on the map as a hub of the transcontinental rail network. The ship channel connected Houston to the world, enabling it to become the capital of the oil and gas industry. NASA made Houston famous around the world as Space City. In the past 30 years, Houston has become one of the most ethnically and culturally diverse major metropolitan areas in the U.S. It is easy to shrug off Houston's connections to the rest of the world. As the home of Continental Airlines' largest hub, many expect the plethora of routes, but it's more than that. In addition to the hometown carrier, which offers nonstop flights to the likes of London and Tokyo, the city is served by airlines ranging from Air France to Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Singapore Airlines. Houston is the best city in the United States for foreign multinationals to conduct business, according to a recent ranking compiled by a pair of international news publications. This ranking is a testament to Houston's position as a thriving global city, with a diverse mix of industries that are attractive to international investment. Houston was an entrepreneurial place from the moment of its founding. Houston was founded on August 30th, 1836, by brothers Augustus Chapman Allen and John Kirby Allen on land near the banks of Buffalo Bayou. They befriended Sam Houston, a giant of a man who had served as Tennessee governor and a U.S. congressman. Every nation needs a capital, the Allens realized. Why not this barren place they had grandly named in honor of their friend? They even built a 2-story wooden capitol building to house a government. Sure enough, in April 1837, the new Texas Congress moved from Columbia to this muddy frontier town. The coastal prairie was soon dotted with log cabins, taverns, and shacks passing for shops, but mostly lean-tos and crude tents. So anxious were people to get a foothold in this wild and woolly place. A theater went up in a matter of weeks, but it was 3 years before Houston saw its first church. To everyone's surprise, Houston flourished anyway. Freight wagons and railroad from the fertile Brazos River country converged on the little town, carrying cotton and hides bound for Galveston. Before long, the Chamber of Commerce began advertising Houston as the place where 17 railroads meet the sea. Never mind that the Gulf of Mexico was 50 miles away. Houston did indeed become the Texas capital of commerce. So fast would it grow in such scintillating fashion and with such a profusion of ideas, dreams, wealth, and schemes that one astonished observer dubbed it Babylon on the Bayou. From the moment a steamboat first made its way up the Buffalo Bayou to Houston in 1844, city burghers magnanimously dubbed their humble docks the Port of Houston. 4 years later, just in time to profit from the war in Europe, the 36-foot-deep Houston Ship Channel was completed, leading into a huge turning basin in the old town of Harrisburg, by then a part of fast-growing Houston on the east. The Port of Houston quickly prospered, in part through the misfortune of rival Galveston, which had been devastated by the killer hurricane of 1900. At the time, Galveston boasted the nation's second-largest per capita number of millionaires, virtually all of whom made their fortunes in shipping. Galveston lingered in rebuilding its port, and when it did, it found that it had lost much of its business to the upstart port upstream. Houston dangled cheaper prices, abundant fresh water, and before long, docks and refineries protected from the direct brunt of Gulf storms. Soon, wooden frames filled the lowlands of East Texas. Fortunes were made and lost, and oil refineries sprang up along the Houston Ship Channel, feeding the nation's insatiable appetite for gasoline and oil. Giant oil companies set up shop in Houston, sophisticated chemical operations evolved, and the world's energy capital was born. Houston's shipbuilding, oil production, and steel manufacturing were critical contributors on the home front during World War II. The year 1914 marked another monumental milestone for Houston. The Houston Ship Channel finally opened. This feat of engineering carved a deep water path from the heart of the city all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Prior to the ship channel, transporting large quantities of oil relied on shallower waterways and smaller vessels, hindering Houston's ability to capitalize on its growing role as a logistics hub. The expansive ship channel, however, was a game changer. It allowed for the import of massive drilling equipment and the export of vast quantities of crude oil on large seafaring tankers. This construction connected the city's burgeoning industry directly to international markets. And with the start of World War I that summer, oil demand skyrocketed. Houston, with its recently established transportation infrastructure and rising expertise, was perfectly positioned to meet this wartime need. Fueled by the success of Spindletop and compounding political factors, the Texas oil boom continued to rage throughout the early decades of the 20th century. With a steady flow of crude oil coursing through Houston's arteries, the city's ambitions grew beyond just transportation and logistics. The next step was to refine the valuable resource and transform it into usable products like kerosene and fuel oil. This ambition materialized with the opening of the Humble Oil and Refining Company's massive Baytown refinery just east of Houston. You may know the company today as ExxonMobil. Its strategic location along the ship channel allowed for seamless transportation of crude oil from Texas oil fields to the refining facilities and, subsequently, the distribution of refined petroleum products to markets worldwide. This refinery was a massive undertaking, boasting a capacity for 50,000 barrels of crude oil per day, a staggering amount at the time. Its success spurred the construction of additional refineries throughout the decade. As the world entered the tumultuous era of the 1970s, marked by geopolitical tensions and energy crises, Houston found itself at the epicenter of yet another transformative period in its oil history. While many regions faced crippling fuel shortages and economic turmoil, the established oil hub entered a period of rapid growth. The 1973 Arab oil embargo targeted the United States in response to Western support for Israel during the Yom Kippur War. Oil prices skyrocketed, and the world scrambled to find alternative sources of energy. Houston, with its vast petroleum reserves and expertise, became the focal point of the ensuing oil boom. Private oil producers in the region saw an unprecedented surge in investment and exploration activity. The period also witnessed the rise of independent oil companies and smaller players who capitalized on the high demand and flexible market conditions. From 1973 to 1985, Houston's population grew 40%, but with every boom comes a bust. By 1986, the wild ride was over. Through boom and bust, Houston never lost its status as energy capital of the world. Recognizing the evolving oil and energy landscape, city officials took a proactive step in 2001 by formally establishing the Energy Corridor Management District. This designated area, stretching 7 miles in West Houston, has become a hub for a diverse range of energy companies. Houston and the space industry became indefinitely intertwined. Since 1961, Houstonians have identified as being Space City, USA. The Manned Spacecraft Center, as it was initially named, was established in 1961 and housed in an assortment of available buildings in southeast Houston. The official facility in Clear Lake, 25 miles southeast of downtown Houston, was not completed and opened until 1964. The facility was renamed the Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center in 1973. In 1961, Houston had many of the assets needed to support NASA then, as it continues today. The NASA program was looking for a region for the facility that had deep water transport, a first-class all-weather airport, proximity to a major telecommunication network, a well-established pool of industrial and contractor support, cheap building costs, a reliable electric grid, a readily available supply of water, a mild climate for year-round outdoor work, and a culturally attractive community. Having Rice University, the University of Texas, and Texas A&M in the area were bonuses. Houston beat other cities for the Manned Spacecraft Center, such as San Diego and Corpus Christi. It's not just history that connects Houston to aerospace. More than 500 aerospace, space, and aviation firms and companies are in the greater Houston region. The industry continues to grow. While many other industries contracted or collapsed during the peak of COVID, Houston's aerospace sector continued to boom. Today's aerospace industry is at an intersection of space, life sciences, and energy. With the energy capital of the world and the largest medical center both located in Houston, the aerospace industry is destined to collaborate. Currently, work is being done to grow human retinas in space due to the zero gravity conditions. And new rockets are being invented where high-power chemical rockets are paired with electric engines. The Houston Spaceport, a hub located at Ellington Airport, is off and running with the proper infrastructure for companies to set up shop there, including military-grade runways, the ability for vertical takeoffs, and a tower equipped to support spaceflight operations. And TechSpace, a recently established nonprofit, encourages aerospace firms and support companies to relocate to or start up in Houston. Houston is a world-class region with a thriving innovation economy. With a high concentration of employment, healthy funding scene, and unwavering commitment to translational research, the Houston region has positioned itself as one of the country's fastest-growing life sciences ecosystems. Bright scientific minds, entrepreneurial drive, and an active investment community gives companies fertile ground for disruptive innovation in biotech and life sciences. The Texas Medical Center, the world's largest medical district, offers companies a unique opportunity to collaborate and implement technology in one of the largest healthcare ecosystems. TMC and the variety of research institutions and innovative companies who operate in Houston are taking on the greatest medical challenges of our generation. Houston is home to over 1,700 life sciences and healthcare companies and establishments, making it a top 15 market for life sciences employment nationwide and first in Texas. This robust and diverse workforce, coupled with an extensive education infrastructure and world-class research institutions, makes Houston a prime location to support growth across key subsectors like cell and gene therapy manufacturing, molecular diagnostics, and biologics drug development and manufacturing. In addition to established companies, Houston has a vibrant startup ecosystem that provides support and resources for early-stage companies. The city has several startup incubators and accelerators, including TMCX, which is located within the Texas Medical Center and provides startups with access to mentors, funding, and other resources. TMCX has hosted over 300 companies with over $5.8 billion raised. Additionally, Houston has a strong network of angel investors and venture capitalists that are actively seeking out innovative life sciences companies to invest in. With the densest patient population in the world, Houston allows for transformational clinical applications. The region ranks second in the nation in clinical trial volume, with 4,906 active clinical trials in 2022, representing over 20% of all active U.S. trials. Companies located in Houston can also leverage unique funding programs. In 2022, National Institutes of Health awarded 1,752 grants totaling $961 million represented for Houston. The Cancer Prevention and Research Institute of Texas has also committed $6 billion in funding for groundbreaking cancer research, prevention, and product development programs for companies located in Texas. Houston also has a growing number of life sciences developments that encourage innovation and collaboration between industry partners. Generation Park, a master plan development, is creating a thriving ecosystem for companies to grow and provides a place where education and industry can converge. It will be the home of the San Jacinto Biotechnology Center, a biomanufacturing workforce institute that will offer certificate coursework in bioprocessing to students as part of a strategic partnership with the National Institute for Bioprocessing Research and Training. Transportation has been a major problem facing Texans since the early settlers came. When the Allen brothers printed their first advertisement for the sale of land in the new town of Houston in August 1836, they predicted that the settlement of the rich lands of the area would result in a flow of trade to Houston that would make it the great interior commercial emporium of Texas. They noted that the location of the new town combined two important advantages: communication with the coast and foreign countries, and with the different portions of the Republic. Steamboat navigation was possible along the coast on the lower stretches of several Texas rivers, but they were not deep enough for dependable year-round transportation. Goods could be transported from the interior to Houston by teams of oxen or mules pulling wagons, but roads in early Texas were either poor or non-existent, and what roads they had were impassable during wet weather. By September 1853, the Buffalo Bayou, Brazos, and Colorado Railway opened a 20-mile segment connecting the rich plantation bottomlands near Richmond with the bayou at Harrisburg. The line's first locomotive, the General Sherman, was named after General Sidney Sherman, a hero of the Battle of San Jacinto and a founder of the road connection mentioned above. This was the first railroad to operate in Texas, the second railroad west of the Mississippi, and the oldest component of the present Southern Pacific Railroad. Later in the decade, a few more lines appeared. The Houston and Texas Central Railway connected Houston with Cypress. The Galveston, Houston, and Henderson Railroad connected Virginia Point on Galveston Bay with Houston, and the Texas and New Orleans Railroad reached to Beaumont. Initially, there was no connection between the railroads radiating from Houston, so goods being shipped through town had to be unloaded, carted to a different terminal, and reloaded. Most railroad construction was suspended during the Civil War, but a timber truss bridge over White Oak Bayou and a swing bridge over Buffalo Bayou were completed in 1865. When the Galveston and Houston Junction Railroad opened, trains could travel all the way from cotton fields in central Texas to the port of Galveston. The Houston and Texas Central resumed construction in 1867 and built northward, reaching the Red River in 1873 and thereby connected with the nationwide network. By the end of 1879, with the expansion of other lines, railroad mileage in Texas had reached 2,440 miles, primarily in eastern Texas.